Rookie of the Year talks. I know it's early. We're reaching 20 games into the season, but boy, there's been some talented guys. Chet Holmgren with the Oklahoma City Thunder, Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, everyone's been knowing about the French alien since last year, but they've delivered. They've been very impressive. So I want to hear it to you guys. Like, personally, I don't think it's close, but I think a lot of people are going to pump the narrative one way, but I think Chet has been absolutely sensational. If I was voting, if I had a vote, I can dream one day, I would be picking Chet. Am I crazy? Is it much closer than we think? Because, I mean, I'm looking at the numbers. Chet's averaging 18, 8, 2.5 assists, and 2.3 blocks on 56, 43, 88. Obviously, Metcalf's Timberwolves are probably going to limit those numbers tonight. But being serious, Chet's been unbelievable. What are you guys' thoughts? Corey, I'll start with you.
I don't think you're crazy. I think it's a no-brainer. Personally, Chet has not only been the best rookie, he has been an all-star level player. I think he is 5th or 6th in the league in EPM right now, which is one of the most highly regarded all-in-one metrics that the NBA has to offer us. He's been unbelievable on both sides of the ball. I mean, he's everything that we thought he was going to be. I know when we did our dual article on Chet, dating back to his draft, we had mentioned that like he's going to be kind of like the Luka Doncic of defense. And he's been able to put things together on both sides of the ball that have really just been, something you expect from a seasoned veteran. So, for me, I'm looking at Chet and going, if all stays the same, this is a no-brainer. The Thunder are winning. Not to take anything away from Victor, he's been great, right? But the Spurs are a little bit of a mess, and it's no fault of his own, but circumstance is circumstance. And, it is what it is. Chet is thriving. He's incredibly efficient. He's getting it done on both sides, and the Thunder are one of the best teams in the league. So, personally, I don't know how this would really even be much of a debate other than we're building the hype machine for Victor as a first-year player.
Metcalf, am I crazy, when it comes to awards? I feel like winning has to play a bigger part of the equation. Like, I understand a lot of these guys that are number 1, number 2, number 3 overall picks, your team's usually not good. But if Chet is a guy who is impacting so much with the Thunder, like, shouldn't that be into consideration with this award? Like, shouldn't he get more praise? Like, looking at FanDuel today, Victor's the favorite. He's minus 140 to win Rookie of the Year. Chet's right behind him, minus 105. So it's pretty close, but still, I mean, and like Corey said, we're not taking away from what Victor's been doing. He's averaging almost 19 and 10 with 2.6 blocks. He's right there, but he's shooting 43, 27, 82. So I just think if Chet keeps that efficiency, like, there's no way he shouldn't win this.
I mean, yeah, but historically, when has winning ever really mattered for Rookie of the Year? I mean,
or any award.
It feels like the LaMelo Ball Rookie Year was the first time where everyone was like, oh, but the Hornets are better than the Timberwolves. It's like, they're rookies. They're on crap teams. That's never really mattered. So why does it all of a sudden matter now? I do think it's important to point out that Chet is in an extraordinarily better situation that really boosts all of his production. He is in the absolutely perfect situation, playing along with a all NBA point guard in SGA, while Victor's having to battle through the Jeremy Sohan point guard experiment, which is an absolute disaster. Then Jalen Williams is on the wing compared to Keldon Johnson. Like, I like some of the pieces that the Spurs have, but if we're looking at just situation and how those guys are complemented and being built around, Chet is in a extraordinarily better situation. When we talk about contributing to winning, I mean, the Thunder have a minus, or their net rating is 0.4 points per possession lower when Chet is on the court than when he is off. Wemby is plus 0.3 in the on-off net rating differential. Neither of these guys are really contributing to winning. When we look at Wemby, though, the Spurs' defensive rating is 8.5 points lower when he is on the court than when he is off. It is insane. And when you look at Chet's on-off differential stuff, there's not a whole lot of difference. So I think Chet's incredible. He would have my vote right now, but I don't think it's really that obvious. And what Wemby is doing for the Spurs is pretty remarkable given how awful that team currently is constructed.
Yeah, I think there's no doubt about it. Chet is in an unbelievable situation for a rookie. Like, that team is proving to be exactly as exciting as we all thought they could be. Chet's been fantastic. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Corey, if Victor's floating around 20 a game, I mean, it's a very elite company when you look back in history of players that have won Rookie of the Year that average 20 a game. You get into LeBron, Shaq, like those big names. And then, of course, shout out legend Tyreek Evans. But if Victor's floating around 20 a game and almost 10 boards, do we care how the Spurs play? Is he just going to get pumped as like, hey, look at what he did with their situation? Because I feel like this is a stat award. Like, this is something that you lean towards stats compared to just wins and losses.
Yeah, I think that's a fair perspective given the history of the award. But rarely do you find yourself in a situation like this where you do have somebody who I think has comparable statistics, right? I mean, Chet's only going to be a couple of points off from whatever Victor is, except he's doing it on way more efficient numbers. He's doing it in situations that matters. He hits that, incredible fall away three to send the game into overtime against the Warriors, right? He's doing it in big moments. He's stepping up to the plate. Like, I think the basketball world knew he was capable of doing. So I think when you have those moments on your resume and the numbers are somewhat comparable, I think those are going to be the things that stand out in the minds of voters come the end of the year, especially because, I think Victor is probably not going to be playing in as many games down the stretch, just, given the Spurs aren't going to have anything to play for except for draft position. Granted, not that matters much in this particular draft. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. To me, like, anything Victor does is gravy. We see all these amazing things. We're not surprised by it. We all loved him. We all had him first on the board. He's certainly a generational prospect. But the Spurs are a long way off. And so it's a little bit easier to walk into 20 points per game, kind of doing whatever you want, experimenting in different ways than it might be for Chet to break out of the offense when Chet's actually got something to play for.
Metcalf, final thoughts, anything?
Yeah, and I do think what really sets Chet apart, I think Corey's point of him doing or producing similar numbers in a much higher or in an environment with much higher expectations should factor in a lot. And the defensive stuff with both these guys is insane. Their block rates, their steal rates. I mean, Victor's block rate is in the 98th percentile. His steal rate's in the 88th percentile. Chet's block is in the 91st. His steals in the 54th. What's really setting them apart right now is the offensive stuff, where Chet's shooting 44% from three, 64.5 effective field goal rate. When we look at Wemby's 27% from three, 47.3 effective field goal rate. The shot's not there yet for him. He was super streaky all last year. I think some people really expected him to come in like shooting like Kevin Durant right off the jump. That was never the case with him. The idea of him being a shooter is there. The actual process and the results, not quite there yet. So I know Wemby's incredible. I think he's going to be probably a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. But right now, Chet is edging him out for me, and just the kind of more ready to compete and ready to produce on both ends of the floor.